Faith is one of the seven virtues, and people of faith come to sacred places like Stonehenge and other standing stones. Faith is a connection with the divine that provides a rock-solid conviction in things that cannot be proven. It grants peace of mind and has an esoteric meaning of balance.
Hello, I'm Michael J. Auger, creator of the Allcento Tarot, and today let's explore the 28th card of the Tarot's Major Arcana. Unlike the struggle of hope, which is an optimistic expectation and yearning for the future, the assurance of faith is the complete confidence and trust in the present that things are in sync with the divine. Hope opens our hearts, and it is faith that fills our hearts. With faith, we are able to rebalance what has become unbalanced. It grants us the assurance and trust that we are on the correct course and are following our true purpose in life. The depiction of faith in the Visconti-Sforza Madrone Tarot, also known as the Carrie Yale deck, depicts a woman who holds a cross in one hand that represents the sacrifice of Christ who died on a cross, and in her other hand, she holds a chalice with a communion wafer that represents the faith in the sacrament of the Eucharist, which miraculously renews the sacrifice of Christ each day. These are the most important symbols of faith for Christians. At the bottom of the card, at the feet of the woman, is a vanquished enemy and vice of faith. Some scholars suggest it may be a depiction of King Ninus, who is a figure from Greek mythology who is linked by tradition to the biblical figure Nimrod. Nimrod is said to have introduced idolatry, making him a fitting representation of false belief. The depiction of faith in the so-called Mantegna tarot is similar to the Carrie Yale deck version and features a woman holding a chalice with a communion wafer in one hand and a cross in the other. However, at her feet is a dog, a symbol of faithfulness. The Minchiate tradition of the tarot also includes the faith card and has a couple of different interpretations, depending on the deck. Faith has been depicted as a bearded man with a polygonal halo holding a monstrance, which is a vessel used to display the Eucharist. Other interpretations of faith feature a woman holding a tablet on which presumably is inscribed with the foundations of faith and the covenant between God and his people. Faith takes many forms, in the same way water takes many forms. Still ponds, deep lakes, flowing rivers, and the vast ocean all contain water, yet each is unique. There's a passage from the Shurangama Sutra, in which Buddha explains how a conditioned mind prevents achieving Dharma nature. The Buddha says, "It is like when someone points his finger at the moon to show it to someone else. Guided by the finger, that person should see the moon. If he looks at the finger instead and mistakes it for the moon, he loses not only the moon, but the finger also. Why? He mistakes the pointing finger for the bright moon. Not only does he lose the finger, but he also fails to recognize light and darkness. Why? He mistakes the substance of the finger for the bright nature of the moon, and so he does not understand the two natures of light and darkness." We often get caught up debating who has the best finger, instead of looking at the moon and finding peace. There are over 10,000 different religions and forms of spirituality, and I don't believe any are superior to others. Although faith in the divine can be found in drastically different ways, we all can be graced with and share the same fiery spirit. In the Allcento Tarot, faith is the 28th card. This is an even number, and in the tarot, even numbers are more passive, while odd numbers are more active. However, this card is so interwoven with the previous card that these distinctions become more blurry. Hope, being the 27th card, is an odd and active number. Change is only possible if we actively desire change. Hope is what lights the fire in us, and this is an active quality. And yet, it is focused on the future, which hasn't happened yet, and so in a certain sense, it also remains passive. Faith, on the other hand, is a passive surrender of control and trust that a higher power is guiding us. However, faith can be thought of as fire actively burning within us in the present and not the hoped-for future. And so, in a certain sense, it also remains active. Hope and faith cannot exist without the other. We need faith in order to receive the promises that hope brings. When looking at the tarot in repeating patterns of 10, the 28th card of faith also corresponds with justice and the moon, cards 8 and 18. A pair of overlapping squares creating an 8-pointed star can be seen in these cards, and they are connected in the repeating theme of distinguishing between opposites to find balance. We must use empathy to weigh options in a just way. It can sometimes be tricky to discern differences in the moonlight. However, with a firm trust in the harmony of the divine, the power of calamities and afflictions are defeated. This card features a dance by people of faith within a circle of standing stones to celebrate the changing of the seasons. Overlooking this rite is a dove, symbolic of the spirit of faith, with a 7-pointed halo to signify faith as one of the 7 virtues. This virtue embodies the Hermetic principle of cause and effect, stating that every action has a corresponding reaction and vice versa. Faith is absolute trust in this order. There are no coincidences. Chance is but a name for law not recognized. Faith is intellectual trust that is unshaken by emotion, and like a bonfire, it provides a comforting light and warmth in the darkness. The dancers embrace change and are self-assured and open to all possibilities. And this brings us to the end of another episode on our journey through the tarot. Please like, subscribe, and leave a comment to share your support. And as always, I invite you to visit my website, offbeatartwork.com. And until next time, brightest blessings on your spiritual journey.